Welcome. In this video, we will learn how to build a very simple JavaScript project called the random color generator. There are two ways to building this project, namely the RGB method and the hex method. In this video, I will be showing you the RGB method. For the hex method, I will provide the link to that video in the description below. For the RGB method, here's how it works. Just click this button to generate a new color. The RGB stands for red, green, and blue respectively. And the generated color is just a combination of red, green, and blue mixed together in these proportions. Without wasting much time, let's get right to it. I have already created our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. We target the HTML file first. Press the exclamation mark and then press tab to generate some boilerplate code. The title of the project is Random Color Generator, RGB method. Let's link our CSS with a link tag and then our JavaScript file with a script tag. In the body, I will input h2 tag and give it a heading background color, and then a span tag with an ID color. Within the span tag is where the RGB code for the generated color will be inserted. JavaScript will do that for us. Next is to create a button with ID btn and then name it change color. So that's it for the HTML. Now let's move on to CSS. With the CSS, I need all these elements in the middle of the page. So I will use a display flex for that. Just follow along. Next, we target our heading H2. This is the RGB color code for white. Let's continue. This also is the RGB color code for black. And finally, for the H2, we give it a border radius of 10 pixels. Next, we target our change color button. This transform property reduces the size of the button by 0.95 when it is clicked. It is just a visual alert telling us that the button has been clicked. We are done with the CSS. Now let's move on to the coding part. Now, before I move on to JavaScript, if you are still with me until this point, then it means you are enjoying the video. So please take a few seconds of your time to like this video, subscribe, and then hit the bell icon to support the channel. First of all, let's define the HTML elements we need. Const btn for our button, and then const color code for our span with ID color. Since we will be generating a random color, it means we will need to generate a random number first. So we will create a function for that. Here we go. Function. We call it a random num. So it will return math.flow math.random times 255. Now, why 255? That is because the parameters for the RGB color code do not go beyond 255. So that means this function will generate a random number between 0 and 255. Next, let's target the button. btn.add event listener, and we are listening for a click. And then let's bring our arrow function. Now the random number has to be generated for each of R, G, and B. So we type let R equals random num, let G equals random num, and finally let B equals random num. Now that we are done creating our random numbers, we need to append them as the RGB values for the background color of our page. With that, we say document.body.style.background color equals. So this is how we target the background color of our page. Now let's assign it to some RGB values. We bring back quotes. Please note that this is not the normal quotes we mostly use. These are back quotes located at the upper left corner before number 1 on your keyboard. In the back quotes, we type RBG, and now we want to append the random values generated for the RGB in here. So for that, we bring a $sign and then open brackets and put the R in there. We do the same thing for the G and the B values. So instead of putting our own RGB values, we are allowing JavaScript to insert the generated random values over here. We also need to append the generated color to this color code element. So we type color code dot text content equals, then we repeat the same back quotes and RGB values for it. Let's try to generate a random color in C. So our code is working fine, and these are the random numbers being generated with every click. So I guess we are done creating the random color generator RGB method. Like I said earlier, there are two methods to creating the random color generator. I have placed a link to the hex method in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in another video.